Now you move and you're going into the streets
Right.
as a police officer.
Right.
Talk to me about the culture, the selflessness.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, hitting's one thing in football,
Sure.
but it's a different game in the streets.
Sure. Listen, that was in everything I've done in life, and football is a great example of this again. You got to have a purpose, right? I mean, I believe that. You have to have a purpose. When I got into law enforcement, that was my purpose, right? I grew up in an area where the police really didn't do much in our neighborhood, right? And so since I believe that Mrs. Johnson should be able to sit on her porch at 6 o'clock in the evening and enjoy the sunset, or kids should be able to go to a park and hang out and play, that was my purpose, right? And my purpose was also that, not everyone you deal with in law enforcement is a bad person. Some are good people who make bad decisions. So it gave us the opportunity to live up that purpose, right? So my philosophy was, if I wasn't getting in something that day, if we weren't doing something, well, then we're not doing our job. It actually got to the point where my entire shift would say to me before we left, "Hey, Mike, what are we going to do today?" Right? They knew we were going to go to the areas that were the hot spots. They knew this. They knew that we were going to address it. We were going to get out of our car and talk to the neighbors, and maybe for a few minutes play football with the kids, or we've helped people move in furniture, because that's a community, right? You say protect and serve, but the definition of serve, we have to listen to that, right? It means everything. So we did that. And then when there was a bad guy on the street, instead of driving by and saying, well, we didn't get a call, let it go, we addressed it. Now here's the other part. Once you arrested that individual, and my guys who work with me would tell you this, you had to go through a 30-minute sermon by me, right, of why you should change your life. But it was all about purpose, again. And you knew that it wasn't about you. I don't want to sound like a hero, but I never had a problem running towards danger. Really, I believe that was Mrs. Johnson. She needed me to do that. That's her expectations. That's what I would want for someone to do for my mother and father. And then I would go back to saying the same thing. I had my badge, which was Canton PD. I had my last name, and I never had my first name. It was never about me. And in law enforcement is where you really get tested, because things are said, things are done, you have threats. So you really have to be committed to the cause, to the purpose, and to your brother and sister in blue.